Okay. So I wanted to make a live where we do a discussion day. Um, just in between readings, I'd like days where I get off and we just do discussions and have community chit chat. And I wanted to talk about self love today because, from my experience, like doing tarot readings, getting tarot readings, and now doing mediumship readings, the theme of love and loving yourself comes up a lot. Hey, Luminous. Yeah, I see it just come up a lot in readings. Like people want somebody else to love them, but they're not loving themselves. They're not taking care of themselves. So, how can we expect somebody else to feed us that love that we crave if we're not feeding it to ourselves? I'm currently on mine too. Because I used to go and get tarot reading after tarot reading, and the cards just kept saying, like, no, love isn't coming. You need to love yourself. And I had to accept that. So it was tarot for me that actually helped me understand that. I think if you pull the Ace of Cups a lot, it is usually an indicator that spirit is telling you you need to love yourself. Cutting it off for good. Cutting what off? Like love and relationships to work on yourself, or getting readings. Yeah. I I'm at the point where I don't want to do tarot readings anymore. Just because like for a year or so I was getting tarot readings and they were saying that love was coming back into my life, and I found myself like feeling feelings of, I didn't want to become obsessed about love again. And I feel that tarot kind of plays with people's emotions when it comes to love and loving yourself. Yeah, start doing your own readings on your own. Mediumship readings different for me, but I'm skeptical of tarot readings now because of that experience of like being told, "Ooh, love is coming for you," and it never does. When it comes to tarot reading, if learning it on your own, do you feel it can be used for growth? And tarot does because energy changes a lot. Yeah, I'd never trust fortune telling, and I think it can be used for good, but like if you're asking for general advice or just seeing what the cards have to say, yeah, I think that could be good. But like the whole getting obsessed about how somebody else feels about you, no. I think with everything comes good and bad. But yeah, personally, like when I was giving tarot readings, it became kind of scary to see how many people were in this state of obsession and complete desperation when it came to somebody else accepting them and loving them. Um, and it was like, as a reader, how did make the point across that you need to take that energy and use it on yourself? But it wasn't going to matter because, I'd give them my reading and then they'd go and get a reading from somebody else and then go and get a reading from somebody else and so on and so forth. It says that everybody left the room, so I'll wait a couple minutes and then I might just start talking. Bastet love, I hear you. Everything's going to be okay. You'll get supper. Stop it. about that. But what else could I say? Tarot aside, I don't want to bash like other people's like choice of or tool that they use to get in tune with their intuition. There's good in it. Um, but personally for me, when I was doing tarot readings, I just saw a lot of like desperate energy. And I even felt that at one point. But what it did for me is it taught me that I needed to love myself. That I was chasing after men and begging these men to love me instead of loving myself. And we'll wait a little bit, see if anybody comes in. I guess I could say that one way that I am doing self love for myself is I'm thinking about doing my readings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the days in between, I can refill my cup and, ground myself and take care of my energy. I'd still come on here and do discussion days, but, you know, I I'd be taking care of myself and my energy and getting rest in between readings. So, what is something that you may be doing that is a form of self love? Hush you. No cat drama. I know, I hear you. Yeah. Now, one thing that I want to know is what's the difference between self love and self confidence? I know they play into each other, but what's the difference? That's my tripod. Hello, who just entered? Everybody who just entered, hello. And for those who just entered, feel free to talk. Let's start a discussion. Just waiting for people to come in and we could get a conversation going. I was thinking that I could start this live and we could have a discussion, but uh, it looks like on discussion days, I'm gonna have to have it already written down, like what I want to talk about, because I just kind of did this on a whim, so I don't even know what to say. I was hoping I could have people to talk to about it. Oh, I'm sleepy. Hello, who just came in? How are you? I'm going to talk about one way that I think people need self love, especially women. And I think that's in terms of having just going out and chasing relationships. Like you need a relationship and you give your body so freely. Like you just have sex with whoever or the first guy that tries to get sex with you. Like, learn to say no. Um, like I think a lot of people need help when it comes to relationships and loving themselves because they're seeking validation from another. And so they don't pay attention to red flags. They don't know how to set boundaries. They don't even believe that they're worthy of setting boundaries. And yeah, their eyes need to be opened that they are more worthy than how they're letting people treat them. Hold on, I got a message. Okay, it said I had a message, but then it didn't show up. But yeah, if anybody wants to weigh in on loving yourself, especially when it comes to relationships, which could be sexual, romantic, or even just friendships, I'd love to hear what somebody else has to say on this topic. Stacy, it says that you need to turn your there we go. Hey.
Hey, I have to sit this in a place. Here, so I'm gonna be driving for a little bit, but don't worry, I'll be safe.
Nice. Yeah, I thought I'd get on here and try something fun, but
What a great idea. I'll be home in 10 minutes, so then I'll be able to participate more fully. Maybe less, maybe sooner.
no problem. Thanks for your participation. It's fun when somebody comes up here because that's when people come in and start talking and yeah.
Neat, I'm so excited. This is exciting for me to be invited in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I thought talking about like self-love would be a good idea because like that's the theme I'm seeing with my readings is that the relationships we're getting in shows that we don't have a lot of love for ourselves.
Right.
And so like how can we conquer that challenge? Like what are ways we could truly reverse that?
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I know I have an idea kind of where I'm at in that journey, but I don't know if it'll be even close to how it is with other people. But
yeah, I've been working on it for several years, but I know I still need a lot of help. Like I don't have very high confidence. I don't set boundaries very well.
Yeah, same. I have problems with that. And I can see in my life where it has caused a lot of issues of my not having boundaries.
Yeah, same. I let people do what?
It's humbling to me.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of, you know, I know that I am aware of my weaknesses, but then sometimes I think I take and sort of berate myself with those weaknesses.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
I do the same thing. It's like, constantly have to I try to tell myself to be compassionate to myself and like I try to challenge those thoughts of me berating myself, but it's hard.
Yeah, it is because like we want to, you know, like everything that we're taught and everything that I understand to be true, you know, suggests to me that I can't do anything about the other person. I can only fix myself. So, I feel like that can become like another type of obsession, fixing ourselves to the point that we are hurting ourselves or something. It's really hard for me sometimes to find whatever the balance is or whatever the alternative truth is to that situation.
True.
But then that's why it's good to talk with people, because like people who are dealing with that type of thing, because I feel like that having contact with other people is what helps us to see what we can't see.
Yeah, it kind of gives us a bigger picture perspective almost.
Exactly.
Like,
and go ahead, you keep talking, sorry.
No, I was just saying like, and also seeing like what somebody else is going through, we could like either relate to it or be like, oh wow, you know, I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess what I feel like is when you struggle with self-esteem, it can be extra challenging because it's harder to find someone who we can kind of relate to. Like I noticed, like, you know, where like a lot of people will be like maybe all excited about the clothes they're getting for their kids for school, or you know, and talking to each other about that, and it's something that's hard for me to relate to. So even though I had kids and things, it wasn't really stuff that I got together with my friends to talk about. And
yeah,
I feel like maybe those of us who are unique in our way of thinking, we are so used to just not really being able to share the things that are natural to us, that it makes it harder to find that peer group or whatever where you can bounce things off people.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I'm finding, like, when I'm doing these readings and somebody's, like, obviously, like, struggling with their own, like, loving themselves is, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's, like, almost this energy of desperation that you feel off of them.
Interesting. That's helpful. Anything you share is helpful to me, but that's especially helpful because I'm kind of still learning that when I go to do a reading, what I feel might be what the other person's feeling.
Mhm.
And I remember, like, when I started like a reading, and I felt like scared, and I'd be like, okay, and I finally learned how to be like, okay, I'm feeling fear. Are you feeling fear? And she's like, yes, and in another time, similar things. It literally is hard to the other person's feeling.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. Because it's like I'm trying to still figure out what reading.
If it's yours or if it's theirs.
Yeah.
I'm still there too, yeah.
And then, like, I know that when I've even watched, like, really expert people, like, I mentioned, like, John Edward, and he'll even say, like, there should be my dog. So, do you have a pet dog? and like, that helps me understand that you might be showing something that's literally about you in your life, but it's still a message. It's the reason it's being shown is because it has a certain meaning to you.
Yeah. And that's what they say, always trust what comes through. Don't disregard it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. Like, I know I struggle with it too, but I just feel like it's a reoccurring theme that I'm getting is, and I don't think there's anything like us as readers can do to fix it, like that desperation that kind of comes from the sitter. But it's like, it is kind of draining because, like, they could get mad at us for not giving them the answers they seek.
Interesting. Very profound. Because, like, I noticed, like, in my own life, like, in my dealing with learning things from God, is that I have noticed in myself a tendency where I'll get mad because it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I wanted to know this and you're showing me this and it doesn't make any sense. Why do you keep showing me this? And then I started to realize, well, it takes me a long time to learn what the meaning is and that I'm asking the wrong questions and stuff like that. And what I really do need to be focusing on. And I think to myself, if I who have to learn and I have the frustration, if I read, and they ask me a question and I tell them it doesn't make any sense, they're going to have that feeling too. So it makes me wonder if, part of it is maybe, well, and I speculate this because I'm on the sidelines here, so in no way criticizing. I have no right to because I'm not because I'm being to, I don't know what. But about if there's some way that I can learn to put into words what it is that we're supposed for them, for other people, and for myself. So, like, in a way, if I have it in words, then I'll be able to remember it and remind myself, oh yeah, you're being frustrated because you're focused on this goal when something about needing to shift over to the other channel about what is really important, but we're so programmed in our lives about what we think is important, and being able to somehow express that in such a way that I can again explain both to myself and others that what that other channel is more concretely that we're supposed to be on and I'm supposed to be on for my highest good.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. You broke up a little bit, but I've kind of been feeling that here lately, like where am I supposed to be going, like kind of for my highest good? Like where did they want me to go?
Yeah. Yeah. Ways this gravity in a way that it so easily wants to pull us back the way that we think everything's supposed to go, that
You're breaking up a little bit.
I might be quiet for a little bit because I'm gonna pass my daughter's bedroom. She's sleeping because she works nights, and then
Okay.
once I get in there, I'll talk a little more. And I have to give a treat to the dog here. Our neighbor dog always comes over for treats. Okay, I'll be right back, Bambi. Okay. Okay. This is so exciting. I'm so glad you have me on here. Okay. This is so neat. Good job, Rebecca.
It's fun, isn't it?
It is really fun. Okay, now I'm getting a piece of cheese for my neighbor dog. You know what? I'm gonna give her wheat thins. No, I'm gonna give her Ritz crackers. They're cheaper than cheese. Yay! And okay, I'll be right back. I'm back by my daughter's room again. Whoops. So, here you go, Bambi. Here's your cracker. She rejected my Ritz crackers.
Aw.
All right, I'm gonna go into the other room so I can talk louder. I can't remember what we were talking about. Oh, you know what? I loved that you said something to me yesterday about at one point you were like hiding behind tarot cards. And I really like that because I have for a long time, like when I want to do tarot cards, and I feel like, not only do I feel like, I mean, I've gotten even messages from the card saying that I'm supposed to go within. I'm supposed to get my answers from within. You know, the cards can be useful if and only if I am also something like channeling at the same time, or something like connecting with spirit at the same time, and then coordinating it. It's like the answers are not in the cards, they're in you, you know. But I resist that so hard.
Yeah.
Which is weird because clearly that's where the mystery lies in the whole thing I've been searching for.
I'm just hearing you need to rely on your vision, your visuals, like what mental images pop up in your head.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Because I'm a Pisces rising, and a lot of mine is mental images popping in my head.
Oh, okay.
I have visions like about premonitions, like dreams, like imagination. I'm a very visual intuitive.
Yeah.
And then with the Cancer, it's very emotional and
Yeah.
kind of witchy.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, really. Sadly, I wish I have my South Node in Cancer, so I feel like I am really cut off from any Cancer type benefits I might otherwise receive. I have Cancer in the 7th house next, right together with my South Node, and it's really sad to me because I feel like just Cancer is so gifted, such a gifted sign in so many ways.
I feel like we're lunatics.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to deny it. You have that streak in you, but every sign has their what, positives and negatives.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just the fact that you would say that, I've never really met a Cancer that would acknowledge that. And I feel like once you see what side as your weaknesses are, you pretty much then can rise above it because you just take that into account.
But you got to remember, I'm the honest Sagittarius too.
Right.
So I'm very honest about how self-reflection. And Cancers, we're crybabies, and we're kind of crazy. Like, I've met every Cancer I've met has like depression or bipolar, and
Oh,
it's like, you know,
and
that's very
that is
common.
heartbreaking to me. Because I mean, I can see how you guys have the biggest heart and the most care and love, and you know, are just out there in who you appear to be, and then, you know, when someone hurts you guys, it's devastating, and I mean, rightly so, because you really put yourself out there like I don't know anyone else who really does. And
Yeah, it's sad because it's like people kind of act like, well, what did you expect? You're easy to take advantage of.
but that's not,
Um,
yeah.
but it's like I wish I could like see that gullibleness in me and that easy to take advantage of because I'm like loving and nurturing,
Yeah.
but I'm a dumbass and I don't see it. So I end up walking into these situations.
I can definitely identify with that. I can identify with being easily taken advantage of and walking in, but in a different way. I feel like the difference is that I might walk into a situation dumb and I might want to help, but I don't have even the skills to help. I feel like that's you guys
Yeah.
have skills to help, you know, like a lot of skills. So sometimes, honestly, when it happens to me, I feel like, well, it's for my own good. I just thought I could go in there and be this caretaker, and I don't even know how. So it's good that even if they were mean to me, they kicked me out. But I don't know. I feel like with cancers, are just, you guys are so gifted. You're so gifted in so many ways. Amazing.
Thank you. I don't hear that a lot.
Well, it's true.
I always hear that Pisces they're the most psychic ones.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, maybe, but I don't. For me, I think partly it could be because at least, okay, now I have to, like, okay, I'm thinking, how do I explain this in Western psychology terms? Like my Mercury it would be in Aries in Western astrology, and my moon also, and those are both mental things.
Okay.
And I feel like that affects me in a way. In Vedic astrology, I actually have Moon, Mercury, Sun, Moon, and Mercury all in Pisces, and then in Western, like I said, I have Moon and Mercury in Aries. But I feel like somehow there's a combination. Maybe it's my Jupiter in my 12th house too, where I might get messages, but I don't get it. Like, I don't remember. I don't know which ones are my thoughts, which ones are the real thoughts. But that's my goal here too, is to learn by playing around. Because from what I understand, being like having fun and laughing and stuff like that is the best way to be able to help yourself make better contact with spirit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Your problem is you doubt yourself. You have
So
a
much.
sense of reality about you, a sense of like wanting to ascertain reality versus a spirit world, you know, a fantasy world. You don't want to get lost in that. I don't want to say delusional sense, but Pisces has a delusional sense about
Yeah,
him.
definitely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And you're being mindful of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope to learn through practice which things are pertain to the person I'm reading and how.
And what's just you. Yeah, you just got to trust, even if you get it wrong. That's what I'm having trouble with, because like I know I can be a bit like imaginative.
Yeah.
So I don't know I second guess. Yeah.
I don't know why this came into my mind, so I'm going to share it. That something that happened to me, that it was one of the times I learned, like, oh, that wasn't stolen yet. It's because like I so often like, well, and when I'm doing more meditation and more exercise to try to be in touch with that realm, and I think it does take some effort on my part. I think some people have to try harder than others, but I do have to like spend some time and do it, you know, kind of follow some teachers and things like that. But anyway, like I remember like I would just be driving down the road and I would park for something, and I would see in my mind, I saw this happen. I saw in my mind the letter S and the letter ST, and then like there was like a light, like a kind of a ball of light type thing. And I can't remember what else. That's all I remembered. And then it was like, and I kept like the letter S kept jumping out of me. And I went to work, and I work, you know, for the government. And I was at a probation hearing, and a probation officer says to me, "Look, I want to show you this picture." His wife had passed away, and he shows me this picture, and it's her gravestone. And there were, in the thing it caught in my eyes, there was a little spot where like the light was shining. It's like it was shining through an opening in the cloud and shone down right beside it and made what looked like a little sort of proof of light, kind of.
Yeah.
And, which I didn't realize at the time, but that was like the thing about it was the light that he really loved about it, and it had a story behind it and stuff. And I just blurted out, you know, thank God that that it didn't go worse than this, because I didn't think at all. I just reacted, and I go, "Oh," so that was the S and the ST I saw. And and then I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that." So I had to tell him what I meant, because his name is Steve and his deceased wife's name was Susan. And that little ball of light, like, is what, when I saw it in the picture, I was like, that's the same thing I saw in my mind. So I told him that. And I was so fortunate. God, spirit, whoever really protected me, I feel like, because that man turned out he had already, you know, had experiences with people who like did readings and things like that. He was totally open to it.
No, that's cool.
Oh, he was so cool. I am still thankful for that, because like it could have, you know, I just think to myself how many ways that could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it turned out that, so his wife was named Susan, and I'd had another experience at some point in my life with the letter S and some images of like Kleenexes, and the Kleenexes being taken out of the box, like someone crying. I don't remember what made me think it was someone crying, but it did. And a few things like that. Well, and I remembered, because there was a certain thing that happened in my life, exactly pretty much when that was. And so sometime later I got like some more things came up, and I told him about that. When was your wife? When did she pass? And we figured out that it was almost exactly the same time that I had that vision with the S and the Kleenexes. And I don't know, it sounds weird. There's a lot more to it than that, but I don't want to keep taking up like a lot of time on it. But that S that I thought it had to do with my daughter, who's also named Susan, but I thought that was pertinent because she had just gotten out of the hospital right about the time that I had that first vision.
Oh,
and
wow.
So it was like more confirmation, I felt like, because his wife is named Susan, and same as my daughter. But it's like, if that hadn't happened, I would just think I'm just being randomly shown an S and an ST and a light.
It's, yeah, like, you have to have the, like, at first when this stuff happens, it's so like, it's like, okay, what does it mean? Or you question yourself. And then you get that confirmation, and it's like, oh, wow.
Yes, exactly. But it never gets any less, well, I shouldn't say it never gets any less scary. I haven't been doing it long enough. I've been wimpy because I had another experience, you know, where, but I don't know, like that was the only time it was like confirmed it was a person who was deceased, that it just happened to me and I wasn't looking for it.
I was working with some spirits, and I told them to lead me to documents that proved their story. And I was searching the website for one of the documents and I couldn't find it. And I sat back and I put my arms on my head, or my hands on my head, and I was just frustrated. And then the screen started moving on its own, and then the cursor stopped on the document I was looking for.
Nice.
And I felt like this whoosh past me, and this sense of frustration, like the spirit was getting frustrated with me, like here it is.
Amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool. That experience, I have a ton of stories about that experience. Was crazy. But,
that's amazing. That's really amazing.
Hey, Cassie, how are you doing? Cassie's my friend. She actually lives down the street from me.
Nice.
She has her own channel.
Cool.
But yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've had the experiences where that are a little bit physical. They're few and far between, but those are scary because it's they're cool, but it's did that really happen? Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that some people have the ability to interact more with physical manifestations of spiritual activity or spirits, and if that, and some maybe with a different kind, and I wish I had that ability, and I'm pretty sure I don't. I was just thinking, in fact, while you were saying that one time I asked, I read in a book that you could ask your deceased relatives for a sign if they were with you. And I did. I asked my grandpa for a sign. And after that, things started happening. I had this little statue on a shelf of an old man with wings, and it started falling off the shelf randomly.
Yep.
And then after that, it broke a couple times. I glued it back together, put it back on, fell off and broke again. And so I thought, I don't want you to knock that guy off, because I love that little man statue. Especially I love it now, after that. So I super glued it onto the shelf. And after that, the piano right underneath where that statue was, my kids started to hear. I didn't hear it, but my kids would start hearing, they'd be, Mom, did you hear the piano? Mom, did you hear it? It would play by itself, just a note or two notes, And I was just thinking while you said that, why can't I ever experience, I came in and I saw the statue on the ground, but I never, was there when it fell off, or I never was there and personally heard the piano play. That's.
Yeah. They turned my Xbox on, and there's this noise that my light bulb makes when my grandpa's trying to be a smart ass, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's he's flicking the light, and it's he's flicked it so hard before that it's burst. So, but Cassie, you're not interrupting.
Oh yeah,
I want people to come in and talk, and
Yeah, I can't see or hear Cassie, but please feel free to share.
Yeah, we're just talking about. She's another medium. We're just talking about things we have in common and things we have different. But yeah, the physical stuff is it's not as common, but I've had it. When I knew for years, when my mediumship came on, I dreaded my grandma dying because I knew she would not behave. She didn't behave when she was alive, but and she didn't behave. She did a lot of very physical things, like opening up the recliner on my mom, and opening and closing her bedroom door and flicking my light. And, she comes through other mediums for me a lot. But like the physical stuff happening, like the recliner opening on its own, scared the shit out of my mom.
I
Because
bet.
my mom believes that all this stuff is evil.
Evil. Yep.
Yeah.
Been there. There was a short time in my life when I actually was convinced of this. Sorry, when I was actually convinced of that too. And now
Yeah.
it just makes me, that whole idea is really sad to me, that people might think that.
Yeah, spirit had to work with me because when they first started coming through,
My gosh, I just realized my boss actually asked if I was call, and I got the alarm to remind me to call her, and I'm gonna have to call her and come back on, I think.
okay, that's fine.
Okay, be back. Okay.
Kathy, are you still there? Cassie, you'd be a good person to talk to about self-love with.
I can't.
Do you want me to kick you off? See if that works? Okay, now you got it. Says there's 0 people in here, but Hey, Blue Bear. Hello. Hey, Raymond. Hi, Bostet. Today, we're basically talking about self-love. If people come in, and there's one lady that was talking to me. She said she'd be back. I'm not doing readings today. We're just doing like a discussion for anybody who wants to chit chat. I can tell you though, like with the discussion being self-love, that, getting reading after reading and not like when it comes to love, having obsessions and chasing after, the person you love, that's not self-love. That actually makes things worse, and you need to take a step back and focus on putting that love on yourself. Because problem is we all want somebody else to love us and to fill our cup and to heal us. And the sad fact of life is that's not reality. We need to give that to ourselves. That's reality. Another form of self-love that we need to start practicing is setting boundaries. Setting boundaries can be in the form of saying no, or it can be in the form of not tolerating abuse or certain treatments from other people. It could even be in the form of being mindful of what red flags are, being mindful of what you consider a red flag, or learning what boundaries you will and will not tolerate. Hey peeps. Hey.
I'm still so impressed. My hair's weird.
Sorry. What are you impressed about?
That you have this setup like this.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool, huh?
It is pretty cool.
My friend Cassie, who is in here, she did a live and I like moderated for her, and she did a setup like this. So that's
Okay.
where I learned how to do it. But yeah,
Pretty awesome.
unfortunately, like StreamYard is free for a certain amount of time, but then like they only give you a certain amount of hours a month, which
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Never even heard of it before.
Yeah. Um, so how'd your talk with your boss go?
Pretty well. I guess there's going to be someone that that's interested in doing the same job I do that might shadow me. So,
Okay, that's nice.
yeah. So we'll see. Time will tell.
Um, yeah, sorry I'm a little sleepy.
Oh, that's fine.
I don't know why I've been sleepy all day.
Oh,
So my
really?
thoughts just aren't really connecting very well.
It happens. I think that happens to me a lot, to be honest.
Yeah. So how many readings have you done for people?
I have not done that many. There was a time I went to this crystal shop, and I rented a room from them, and I only went there, I think, like twice, like for a couple hours each time, because it was the only time I had between my last thing at work and their next thing in the office. And I just did readings like for free, just to learn.
Yeah.
And that was a fascinating experience. Um, that was where I started thinking that when there's more people together, like it helps somehow. Because I remember really clearly, and now when I'm talking to you, I feel like it might have been a deceased relative of this lady. Because I remember even with as little knowledge as I had, and I was, the things were coming into my mind. I go, I wonder, I told her, I wonder if this is like, someone on the other side trying to talk to you. And I don't remember really what it was that made me think that, but I remember that in my mind, I saw a ring, like somebody who has a ring, but only partway on their finger. And, and I told her, and it just kept in my mind, just kept coming back. Like it wouldn't go away, this ring. And I go, now they're playing around with it. Like, like if you take the ring kind of off and you're just like fiddling with it around your finger, like, as if it's a hula hoop or something.
Yeah.
And I said, and I told her, when I see a ring, think of a ring, it makes me think of like, commitment, promises,
Hmm.
faithfulness, stuff like that. And I think it was the final time when I said, they just keep showing me the ring. And we were both seated at a table and her hands were under the table. Like I hadn't seen them previous to this till she pulls, after I said, they just keep talking about it, she pulls her hand out. She had I noticed one of her rings was like on, part with the finger, like I said. I don't know if it was the one that she pulled off, but she pulls off one of her rings and shows me that on the inside it was engraved faithfulness, love, promise, commitment, and all stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was really shocked. I did not. I guess I don't. I never expect something like that. I expect these things that come into my mind like that did, but not having any idea what they're referring to, and um, and then I guess I always feel disappointed because ever since I started this, even when I started doing meditation for my own self, is I always want, when I get a message, I want it to be something like a voice telling me, tomorrow you should go, down the corner and turn left and go a block and you'll meet a man who's going to tell you what to do with your life.
Yeah. It to
you
be
know?
really straightforward and yeah.
Right. And so same with the reading, that even with that reading, even as shocking and amazing. And she said to me, well, how much do I owe you? And I said, no, I just, for me to, my own personal experience, but I felt afterwards, like kind of let down, like I didn't give her some big thing in her life of she's supposed to go, do this. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that I feel like maybe I want to work on, I guess, even though I know sometimes, like I said, um, I personally am like looking for something that might not even be spirit's priority. And then I want to work on tuning that a little, I guess, maybe more. It's just humbling for me to say because I want to feel like I know everything, which is ridiculous. And if I
Right.
want to be able to listen to more, what is your message you're trying to say? And how do I get off of my mental recordings of how I think my life should go so that I can hear you better? Because that lady like welled up with tears, and it really meant something to her. And, um, and so like my readings, and like I feel this frustration building up as I tell you this, because that's been my experience also with, there was a time when I have a daughter, and some of her friends would come to me. They were college age, but they're still very young, very very young, you know. And and I felt like that was online, and some kind of weird things happened that time. One of those, several of the, well, one in specifically, but one of the times I remember like in my mind would come stuff, it doesn't make any sense, and I was like, it was a girl like I said, a peg leg? What's that? And I don't remember what the topic is she was talking about, because it looked to me like, like a pirate who's walking with like a stick leg halfway down.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this is nuts. This is insane. And she said, oh yeah, there's this girl at track that runs really weird like that. And I think that it was a little bit of an eye-opening moment for me. Because I think it's kind of like, okay, this is how it felt. When I was in kindergarten, I had a teacher, and she had all the kids come up to her desk one by one and count as high as they could, because you're in kindergarten, it's like an achievement test practically. And I remember that I got up there and I just kept counting and counting and counting. And I remember I got into like the 200s, I think, and she stopped and said to the whole class, class, listen to her, stop what you're doing and listen to her counting. And I was like looking around at all of them looking at me, and I said like 203, 204. That's as high as I know how. And because like first like yeah, I think part of it was like, well, where is this going to end? Like, can't you just keep going, you know?
Right.
And I felt like I think that when that happened with the girl, and she said, "Oh yeah, there's this girl track that runs weird." Something similar happened to me a little bit. Like, where is this going? You know? And I think I'm still in that. I'm in that process now where okay, I guess I feel like there's so many messages that can come in, and I don't understand where they're coming from. I'm just going to be upfront and admit it. I don't understand what the point of them is or where they're going, and I want to learn more about where they're coming from, what they mean, and how do I had one experience with it was one I think I mentioned to you where I knew I was going to be in a mediumship group. So I tried seeing beforehand, is there any spirit that wants to come through? And I took time and I meditated and all that. And I got these sensations and everything, and that didn't make sense, but I just tried to say, oh, well, I'm going to go with it. But that time I said, I remember that I asked some questions like, actually it was two experiences where I said, where did you die of? What's something, like, how old are you? Things like that. And I felt like I kind of got some answers. Um, and I feel like I'm in that point now. I'm at that point now where I kind of am getting an idea that so many things come in, so many messages come in. It could just meander, aimlessly, or, I can ask questions and try to help guide it in a way that makes it.
No, she got cut off. Bastet, stop it. We'll go out later. We will go out for supper in a little bit. You need to be patient. I'm busy. Hey,
Hey,
what happened? You internet?
no, my daughter called me, and so I got off to take her call.
It got kicked off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there was people in here a while back, but then they just left. Like they wanted readings, but today's not a reading day.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
because I was doing readings like back to back, like every day.
hmm
And I ended up like crashing into depression real bad.
I can totally understand that. Yeah. Like that's like that's another I think that's another reason I kind of well, several reasons. I was working two jobs back when I did that one at the crystal shop, but it was it's like I guess to realize this actually is work. It actually does take a lot out of you. It's not I think it's harder than my other job,
Yeah.
you know? Because like in my other job, people are telling me what to say. Like they just tell to me in one language and I say it in another language, but I can hear them really clear and it's very clear, you know. And if they don't, I ask them and they explain. And this is more challenging because nobody's like physically telling me the answer in my ear.
Yeah. And you're going off by like visual symbols coming up in your mind and, all kind of different ways to interpret the message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then for me, that it's just so new that, kind of like the girl with the peg leg thing, and I didn't know where that was going, and then learning how I can guide it, and how to think, how to be relaxed. Like even for my work, even for my regular work, the more relaxed I am, pretty much the better I do. But this is next level.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, you're about to jump off of an airplane, and nobody knows if you'll land or not, or how parachutes work, but stay relaxed, have fun.
You need to get your confidence up about it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't, I do, I have a kind of toxic half cup, half empty type. My daughter's pointed that out to me a lot, and I think it carries over. And it's not
Yeah.
good in the parts of my life that aren't related to this. It's not good. But you grow up thinking, well, I got to be focused on paying the bills. I got to be focused on, I got to think worst case scenario. I got to be prepared for this and that and the other. And, um, messes with you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I told you last night, I've been feeling that. Like, how am I going to pay the bills from everybody I've read
Oh,
lately?
mhm.
Yeah. Like people who live overseas, people who live in the United States. Like, yeah, this is like the main emotion that's coming up for these people, and like that their loved ones are talking about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm really stressed and in my head, and I beat myself up, and I'm not confident about a lot of things. But when it came to mediumship, like once I started getting really good feedback, like that helped a lot.
Sure.
Yeah. And then I started feeling confident, and then I started actually doing good. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. People don't know the power of like kind words, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Did you hear that thump? That's my rabbit.
Oh,
The he must think he's in danger. I don't know what. Because they thump when they think they're in danger, and they're like warning all of the other rabbits.
oh,
So funny. It's okay,
thumper.
Linus. It's all right. You're okay. Well, that's true what you say. I think you can still hear my rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like when I went to the crystal shop, I just was so basically just like, I don't know what this is. I'm just exploring. I don't even know what and I remember like one lady, like I just before they even walked into the room, I saw like a hand showing the number 4. And I just drew it. I drew the hand, and I told him that like I got this hand showing 4. She said, I have 4 kids, but I feel like that. And I remember when I got done with it, it was like her husband and her daughter all came in at the same time. And I don't think I would do that again if I could choose, because first of all, I could tell the husband was really skeptical, and that kind of made me shut down, because like
Mhm.
that made me even put more pressure on myself that this has to make sense, and it has to be logical, and then I felt like I was shutting myself down and not as open to it. And then the girl was in there, and I'm really hesitant with young kids now, because I feel like if there's one thing I've learned in my life, it's that um, there's a lot of heavy truths that I wrestle with through this process, and I'm not sure what kind of wrapping paper to put that in for a young kid. I'm not always the best at making things palatable due to partly my own things that I'm working with on myself about how to see things in a more palatable way, how to see things in a more uplifting way, even for myself, so that I can pass that along to them. But when it's a young kid, like I'm concerned that I might scare them or something.
Right.
um, and I don't want to. Um, after like even like I said, those one girls were in college, and I think I might even, I don't know. But then again, one of them, I think she kind of started calling me for little things frequently because I don't have good boundaries, or didn't in that case. And I think that might be part of it, is that it's something that um, it needs to be taken a little bit seriously, or else it can be just meandering or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Like your intuition and sharing it.
Now as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking it's more like, yeah, intuition and sharing it, and then making that fit, because it's draining and everything. I feel like in a way it's kind of like you can't sit down like and combine like psychic abilities or intuitive abilities with just a couple people gossiping at a table, you know?
Right.
And if you try, you would absolutely just be exhausted. It has to be something more focused and
You have to know when to turn it off, and you have to know
purposeful.
like when to share it, yeah,
Yeah. And
who to
so
share it with.
that's one thing I did learn about, I guess, um, is a need existing to make sure that it's with people who have aren't just doing it, I guess, as to pass the time and figure out. Um, I don't know how to explain this. Someone who has a concept of a type of life journey and spiritual type journey or whatever, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think if someone were more gifted, or I shouldn't say more gifted, but more in touch with and had their abilities more developed, they might not wrestle with those things so much. I think it might be because I'm so new.
Oh, I wrestle with it.
Yeah.
um I wrestle with like how people would see me if they knew, like what is the purpose of it, like what am I supposed to do with it. um I wrestle with the fact that I have experienced some extremely strong experiences. So it's like, oh fuck, what's next? Um,
Yeah.
and it's like, the more it opens, that is the more you feel, because spirit just lays it on you.
Hmm.
Um, but like if you were ever to do like more practice readings, like kind of how I am, I noticed people want to take advantage of you. And there are people out there who, like, you'll notice, like, people, you get a strong reaction from people. You get your own unique reaction from people. Like, um, I have to watch out because I make people, like, either they'll be crying or they'll be mad.
Hmm.
Yeah. I've had some people who get mad at me, and it's like, what did I do?
Wow.
Yeah. So those kind of things make me feel uneasy.
Yeah. I could see that. Like, actually, I admire you that you keep going when that happens.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't wanna say too much, because I don't wanna say something that's insulting.
Something that what?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. My cat's a brat.
Cats have their own way of doing things.
But I've noticed I keep getting this reaction from people where they end up like kind of kidnapping me on the phone for several hours and end up like having a meltdown, just crying uncontrollably after my reading. Like that's their response to my reading.
Interesting.
And I stay on the phone and I listen to them, to kind of give them that. I'm not going to hang up on them,
Yeah.
but I'm getting strong reactions from people, and it's like a couple of people said, you have a healing energy, and I'm just like, damn, do I?
Interesting. Well, I feel like that it regarding, like when you mentioned earlier about not sure, where it's going or what to do with it. I was just reading in a book that was talking about when we look at things from all angles, including spiritual, like with intuitive or clairvoyance or things like that, it is healing to people because it shows them like a confirmation that is more profound than like say if their neighbor or not the neighbor, like their family or something told them, because we don't know if that person is just saying it to make us feel better or if that person really knows what they're talking about when they're suggesting we do something that we feel like is not the right thing. But when it comes from a completely, disconnected source that has access to that type of message, it can be freeing in a lot of ways, or like in a way that's really healing, because then you don't doubt it. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing it justice to what I'm trying to say.
No, you are, because it's like, yeah, when these people are on the phone with me and they're like crying their eyes out, it's like, yeah, they're getting this big release. Yeah. Like the message gave them a release, I guess.
Yeah. Like, okay, like I think yesterday I think you said something to me about needing to let go of or heal from a relationship and make sure that it doesn't come back and things like that. So that was big, because I know you felt like you wished more would have come through, but I feel like that was exactly what I needed. That, in a really profound way that I didn't even recognize how profound until later, kind of. Because I have, like, when I do even I talk about tarot cards, and that when I've done my own tarot cards, or when other tarot readers have done them, that over and over comes up the idea of letting something go, of healing, of, but I think to myself, I don't know what thing I'm supposed to be letting go. I can surmise, I can speculate, but it could be so many things.
Yeah.
And when you just specifically, just all you have to do is just acknowledge it, and it's just the idea that it comes from such a different perspective. And then, like in my case, and I'm guessing this happens with a lot of other people, the fact that it was my grandpa, who's part of my family, and it was so freeing, because I constantly wrestle with guilt. Should I not? Should I, did I do something wrong? Do I need to give him another chance? Am I hurting my kids, worse this way than the other? And to have that one just specifically identified, it's like permission from people you love, that it's okay to, you don't have to like be a superhuman and figure out how to, I don't know, you're relieved, you're not disappointing them, I guess.
You have permission to let go and heal from it.
Yeah, permission to let go and heal. Yeah. And that's I mean, it's been 14 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I ever gave myself, I mean, intellectually, I would come to that decision over and over in my mind, but it wasn't a full, I don't feel that um, I completely accepted that. So I can imagine if other people have similar experiences,
Oh
but
yeah.
that's a lot for you to handle. That's a lot for you to handle, though. That's a lot of emotion.
I can handle it because I've dealt with similar emotion. Like I've had relationships where I just refused to let go, and spirit was like, "Let go."
Yeah,
But hard
it
when
is.
you have attachments to people, and a lot of us, from what I've learned through therapy, is a lot of us have attachment styles
Yeah,
that kind of influence whether or not we're going to let go, or how we get attached to people and how it affects us psychologically. So yeah.
yeah, it's pretty profound. I mean, I think I used to be one of those people. In a way, it's good for my empathy because I think that I used to be one of those people who I definitely didn't realize the impact on myself or others. And when I would hear people who did recognize the impact, I would think, they're just being a baby, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's humbling. It helps me because I need to develop more empathy. And you have to, I guess, people, maybe those of us, if we don't have empathy on a certain level, and I don't know, this might exclude total psychopaths. They might be a different category, but I think often if we don't have empathy for others, it's because we shame ourselves and we're disconnected from that part of ourselves that has emotional needs, or we don't know how to love ourselves. It sounds so cliche, like just saying that, it sounds so cliche because you hear that so much, but that to recognize that part of ourselves, yeah, you were affected by this, and it's a big deal.
And it impacts how you relate to others, whether it's like lack of empathy or over attachment, or because it's what I was told is like there's three styles. It's like the anxious attachment style, the avoidant attachment style, and secure attachment style. And there's also one that's disorganized, but that's not talked about as much.
Hmm.
But yeah, basically it's like, are you pushing, are you pulling, or are you doing healthy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the way to heal from that is learning to love yourself
Right.
and have a relationship with yourself first.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is just me or if it's a lot of people, that I think for me, I wasn't sure, who I was to be able to have a relationship with me, and that it's worth it, that it's valuable to learn who you are. And there's times I think that sometimes relationships, I feel like in my life, like relationships have been taken away to force me to know who I am, because I would have, I don't know that I ever would have, um,
I can actually really relate to that. Sorry. Um, I can relate to that because I've had a lot of people taken away from me, and it was like this lesson that I had to learn.
yep. And I don't know if it's appropriate here to interject astrology or not,
You
but
can.
thank you. Thank you. because I know that you and I both we have North Node in the first house and South Node in the seventh. In Vedic astrology, that's called Rahu and Ketu. We have Rahu in the first house and Ketu in the seventh. And the interesting thing about that is that the South Node, this is how I see it. I don't know how, this is just how I see it. So that's the source, how I see it, is that the South Node in Vedic astrology, they talk like about a lot of times that South Node will cut us off from something, and but the reason is to push us towards the North Node. And so I look at it sometimes kind of like a tunnel or a wormhole or something, that since our North Node or Rahu is in our first house, that the first house represents who we are, us. And that Ketu, the South Node in our seventh house, is represents partnerships, especially I think our kinds of partnerships that we form because of not knowing ourselves well enough or whatever, that those partnerships can be removed from us to force us into the North Node, which is that us, ourself, which kind of describes what we were just talking about if those are only taken away to force us to be in our own self and know who we are and pay attention to ourselves, because for whatever reason we haven't developed that very well yet. And so I see it as we have to go through that, because whatever maybe the way that we saw relationships was up to this point anyway was not the ideal way of seeing them. And so we might have been in relationships that would have been harmful for us or were harmful for us. And that type of a relationship has to be like, something has to happen to push us to go to ourselves. Maybe it's a guilt feeling. I don't know what it is that keeps us away from ourselves.
What you said, we have the same North Node?
Yeah, it's not in the same sign, but it's in the same house.
Okay. What does that mean, though?
So North Node is where you're being pushed toward, and South Node is kind of where you're being pulled away from. Maybe I should use, I might use my understanding of Vedic astrology to express it, just because I understand it better. That doesn't mean that Western is wrong. It just means I don't know how to describe it in those words as well.
Go ahead. I can learn.
Okay, so and even what I've learned from Vedic astrology, I'm learning some of their science of astrology is very, very, very old, and some of it is based on slightly outdated, maybe cultural beliefs and things like that. According to the guy I'm learning it from, he says like we have to sort of take the wisdom they give us and then learn to adapt it to the present. And so I want to say that just so that people will bear that in mind too, that these words I'm saying are not, they're my understanding of it at this moment from what I've learned, but there's a lot more to it always. So that people, okay, I'll just leave it at that. But so from what I understand, how I understand like in Vedic astrology is that we might, like the place where we have Ketu or the South Node might be even a place where we overindulged, or had a tendency to be unbalanced. Like maybe I'll give it in my particular perspective, that I felt like I gave so much of myself to relationships that thing about losing who I was, and because seventh house is relationships and partnerships and things, and specifically like friendships or like romantic, or it can also be business partnerships, but oh, my battery's getting low, but it's more of a like traditional formalized relationship. Like a lot of people who have, how do I make this not confusing? Like a lot of people who have Rahu in the first house or North Node in the first house and Ketu in the seventh, South Node seventh, they will end up being self-employed because being with an employer doesn't work out for us that well, partly due to maybe us, again, giving so much to it and not being balanced in, again, this is my perspective. I'm like with a grain of salt because I'm scared. I don't want to scare people with this, you know?
No, you're not.
That especially younger people who are just starting. So I feel like that, and it's, whoops, wrong charger. I'm looking for a charger. And so people with South Node in the seventh will a lot of times go through an experience or several experiences, I feel like, until we learn whatever we're supposed to learn, that about losing a relationship, a significant relationship or things like that. Well, there's no chargers. What the heck? Is my, hey, are you in there? Okay. Um, so if my phone dies, I might have to find a charger and get back on because she's in the room where my charger. No, I know where to get one. Okay, so sorry, going back to what I was saying. Um, so I think I'm the disorganized kind, because I'm gonna turn this machine on. Okay, so that there's a, for whatever reason, we have to be pushed towards the opposite of that. And if our south node is in, if our south node is in the seventh house of partnerships, it's like going to, at some point, probably, again, it's not a blanket statement. I mean, there may be people who, for whatever reason, don't have to go through this because they're of other things in their life, but there's a good chance that, like, at some point a relationship will get cut off, or maybe multiple ones, if, and then in order to push us towards our north node, which is our first house. First house is us, self, me, I, you know.
Okay.
So it's like pushing us towards self, me, I, because we're supposed to develop that. We have to develop that. And personally, I can see, like, at this point in my life, how, you know, I tried so hard to fit in so many different belief systems, so many different ways, that, like, I wouldn't have, even though when I was a kid and I had these dreams and ideas and wishes and desires, like, I just wasn't, I understood, oh no, you can't do that. That's not practical. That's just not real or realistic, or I just had that ingrained in me, as most of us probably do, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I know that if I had, like, not been forced out of my marriage by very extreme circumstances, I would have gone, I don't know, I can't even imagine, like, I would have just kept wandering, trying to fit in with what I thought I was supposed to be, and never having any idea. It's like, it reminds me of, I've heard that in some African cultures, that, like, when little kids get really traumatized, that the adult or the parent or whatever has an understanding. I don't know which African culture this is, but that, like, the adult has an understanding that they need to, like, they say that, like, the child's spirit, if they get too upset and traumatized, that their spirit leaves them, and they have to coax that spirit back to the child, you know, by being caring. And inside of us, I feel like that happens sometimes, where we split and part of us, like, abandons us because of maybe feeling like that's part of us is wrong or shouldn't be like that. And I feel like that what happens is we think we're losing the thing that the biggest thing we needed in the whole world, but it's meant to coax us back to our, like, coax our spirit back to us.
Yeah.
And so with North Node in the first house, not saying it couldn't be similar in other houses, it's just, this is the way I'm familiar with, is bringing us back to ourself, I feel like.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I feel like, in fact, I'll just tell you, like, Kapil Raj, he's the guy I learned from, KRS Astrology, for anyone who's interested. He even said that, and this is why I feel like there's benefits, and he has even mentioned it with Western astrology. They might be a little less like black and white in their understanding, and there can be a lot of benefits to that as well. To not saying like, oh, if you have this, you're gonna lose a relationship. Okay, that could be scary to say to a young kid too. That's why I shy away from young kids. But once you've already gone through it, then it's not so scary. It just explains what you went through, a little bit. But he said, oh, so if you're going to be in a relationship, then, and again, I'm not pretending it has to be this cut and dry, but he said, then the two options you have are either submit to the person and do everything they say, or don't get married, just be together without that official contract.
Oh,
And I'm presenting that as a perspective. I don't know that it's necessarily exactly true, but or exactly precise, but I think that there might be an aspect to it of us learning, those of us who have that placement, learning how to be less enmeshed with the person. As far as that, thinking of it of living together without marriage or something. Um, I can see some, like, I feel like once I give actual credibility to me, who I am, and learn that how to take care of myself and things like that, being better able, maybe one day, 'cause I'm very insecure in relationships. I mean, it's bad. And I could see, though, if I ever got over that, if I like was able to be trusting and, not so holding on for dear life or something. Um, like if the part of me that's being transformed through what I'm learning about myself, then I'll be better able to understand what a relationship might be like. But I feel like it has to be completely transformed from what I previously thought it was supposed to be like.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Me in relationships, like, I got to a point where I just noticed I started chasing men and begging them to treat me the right way. And I need to, like, not focus on men and focus on treating myself the right way.
Yeah, you said it. You said it. Honestly, that's kind of it was the gist of what I was trying to say, but that's exactly it.
It's hard.
Yeah, I think it's because I didn't want that to be the situation. But dude, you can't have a relationship till you learn to treat yourself right. And my current attitude or belief or whatever perspective is that it might take an entire lifetime to learn that.
Yeah.
And I think there's more than one lifetime probably.
And also, like, I don't wanna share a bed with somebody and have somebody, like, all over me. Like, go away.
Exactly.
I
Like,
don't know.
honey,
That's
you don't
just
understand. I
my
have insomnia and I just got to sleep.
yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that.
'Cause my last boyfriend, he would take up the entire bed, and, like, if I moved 1 inch, he would, wake up and act like I was, doing something to bother him, like,
Oh
I couldn't get up to go pee, I couldn't just churn over on my side, like,
oh my goodness.
I don't want that.
No, no, no. And I think that's why, for young, like especially young, really young people, they might be in that stage where they're obsessively chasing guys, for example. And then I have to know not to tell them, oh, by the way, I, and because they're not ready for that yet, and that's all right. They will
Yeah,
eventually, they will eventually be pushed towards where what's healthiest for them. And sometimes I, like, with myself, like just like when I'm trying to learn something myself and I want to know it now, there's times that time just is the only thing that um, can and should reveal things, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I never got a serious relationship or anything, like, I was always kinda I mean, I had situationships, basically, and I'm over that.
Same, yeah. I did have a serious relationship, but it became very, very ugly.
One of the last men that I had a situationship with, um, I've known him since high school, but we went 7 years without speaking because I was mean to him. And then I started having dreams about him in 2017. And in these dreams, he was saying, Becky, mental illness, suicide. So I contacted him and he replied, and we got together, and it was hot and heavy. And, he told me he was really depressed and he was seeking help. And I was like, okay. Um, so I thought that was all good and dandy. I checked up on him and dream checked out, right?
Mhm.
Well, after my birthday, we spent my birthday together. And then after that, I didn't hear from him until I contacted his mother, and come to find out he had a psychotic episode and was in the mental hospital. And when he would get out of the mental hospital, he'd stop taking his medication. And his mother just didn't know what to do. So I would get him put back in the hospital and put back on meds. And, you know, spirit told me to leave the situation. And it just devastated me because it was like, why did God or spirit show me that that was going to happen when A, I couldn't do anything about it, and B, they were just going to act like, oh, well, leave him and forget about him, move on from him.
Yeah.
Like, it just does, like,
Right.
it made me upset about my psychic abilities, made me upset at God, it just made me upset about dating
Yeah. Yeah.
because I could not accept that he was essentially dead, and what was left was a severely schizophrenic man,
Hmm.
you know?
Interesting.
I couldn't accept it.
I feel like I resonate with some parts of that. A lot of it. A lot of parts of that, actually.
Yeah.
But the one thing about it that it doesn't make it easier, really. I just think I sometimes struggle so much to make sense out of things. The one thing about it that does seem clear is that there was no choice. Kind of like with my situation, it became like violent with my kids. And so, like, I had no choice. And in the same with yours, it seems like you had no choice, which is confusing, but it was horribly confusing and traumatizing. And yeah, it
Yeah,
makes you doubt yourself. And
makes you feel guilt, and well, it's sudden too, it shakes you up, it's like you have no choice, and then it's just like, you're sitting there like, "Well, when's it gonna go back to how it was?" And
right,
you can't, for some reason, your mind isn't catching up with reality. It
right,
seems like you're expecting it to get better, and it's like, it's never gonna get better.
exactly. And I think that there's something about that we're supposed to learn in this lifetime. Like if we still had that hope that it was going to get better, we wouldn't go look in other places that we're supposed to be looking or something. But like you said, it still is traumatizing because you're like,
Yeah,
wait a minute. If this way I was doing trying to make sense of things didn't work, then what does?
I just wanna know whoever's in charge of my psychic abilities and whoever sends me the dreams and whoever did that, why? Why'd they do that to me? Like, why show me a vision of something when I can't do shit about it?
You know, I had a friend who said the other day, because she also gets random psychic visions and she would like to learn to control them more because hers are pretty sporadic. But she told me she was struggling with that issue, and it came to her at one point that it happens to her. So when it does happen, like she gets the knowledge beforehand, so that when it does happen, it's like it gives her time to prepare that this is going to happen. So it won't like just destroy her or something as much, like kind of like, rough waters ahead sign.
Well, yeah, I got to say goodbye to him.
Yeah.
So,
It's still though confusing because, like, I had a daughter, my second daughter, and she, when she was in college, had this vision. But she would have visions that would come true. But
yeah.
specifically, she had this one. Then this is why we took it seriously, because they come true. She said she kept seeing in her mind that she would be T-boned, in her car, and so, there, she always tried to drive careful. And she said once she had a close call, she thought, oh, that must have been it, and I avoided it, but then it was like a couple of years later, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 years later, that she was actually living in another state. She's living in Houston, and she got T-boned, and and it was bad wreck, and I like just up and left, just went straight driving to Houston to see her from Nebraska. And she was okay, thank God, and everything. The car was totaled, the insurance covered it and everything. Still very strange, but she, at one point, it was sometime after that, we kept thinking of ways, why, again, what is this? Why? How? And one thing that she realized, like a year after even the accident, is that she said when she was here where we live, when she lived with me, you go out the driveway, then you turn left, and then you have to turn another left onto a road that's pretty well traveled within our little town, like a kind of a main road in our little town. And she said that when she was turning that second left is when she would always get that vision of being T-boned. And
Okay.
I had gone, when I went to visit her, I, drove and everything around where she lives and got to know it. And she told us this is where she had it. And she said, Mom, the place that I got T-boned is that one place where it's just like, how she has to turn out from her apartment complex, go left, and then another left. And it was the second left. Like, it was this similar, like, here, um, is like almost a replica of the same situation. And that was wild. And I was discussing with my brother, and he was talking about, time being like circular, kind of like we think that time's linear because of our Western kind of way of thinking. But if time goes in cycles, like in my mind, I imagined it like an airplane that's trying to land, like, and it's going start way up in the sky, and it's like circling, and the circles are getting smaller and smaller, kind of, until it hits, lands. And because sometimes I think, like, just figuring out what, because we also have this idea, sometimes I do too, and I pray to God and have this idea of God. But sometimes I think that I have a tendency to think, God controls all of these things. And so if it doesn't make sense, I'm starting to see it more like, I still see it. I mean, still, like, I'll never give that up. I'll never give up my, whatever it is, my belief in God. But I'm seeing the psychic and the intuitive and all that as more like another sense that we all
Mhm.
have. But it's just like if I go outside and I see a wolf, and then I go over there and I see a fish or a duck, that's how, like, humanity, just, we see that, we feel that, we hear it, and then we explore it and we learn. And um just like with science, like all through the years, that people learn through trial and error, and then keeping records of their trial and error. And this guy ate that mushroom and then died, and then another guy ate that same mushroom and died. That mushroom might not be good for you. and
Yeah.
and I'm starting to see it a little bit more like that. And along with that, that because I see it more like that, and because I see it more as this sort of just another sense, another way of perceiving information, that it makes sense then about learning from other people who have learned about that sense and their experiences and how to manage it. But it's just so foreign in Western society. It's so foreign. Um, at first, you have to get through all the shame, and then you have to get through the, you're crazy, and then you have to get through, well, even if it is real, don't waste your time on it. Just focus on work. And if you can get through all of that, and you still, and you allow yourself to be aware of those things and receive those messages, then you don't have anyone to teach you, and you're kind of left to your own devices. And so then again, it's another reason to shut down, kind of,
Yeah.
because it seems really against so many things we've been taught.
Yeah. And I mean, that circles back to self-love. Like, people think that when they're getting readings from psychic mediums, like, we think highly of ourselves. No, we feel bad about ourselves because it's like either we're looked at as nut jobs or like we're going to hell. And that,
Yep.
you know,
Yep. Even if they say she's not a nut job, she's telling the truth, and oh well, they're demons. She should flee and be saved and
yeah,
live a normal life with her happy husband
yeah.
and nice kids or whatever. I do have nice kids. But for the record.
My
but but I mean,
my
not to
mom
have to
acts like,
get
"Oh,
real
well, why do
stuck.
you dwell on those kind of things?" And it's like, "'Cause it's my reality."
Exactly. It's literally how I think, how I talk, how I function in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like saying to somebody, don't live in a house anymore and quit your job, but figure out how to survive. And in a way, that's how I feel like what they're asking of me, to tell me, stop doing that, stop thinking about that, stop, shut that down.
My aunt, she is also psychic, but she mostly has premonitions. I have the premonitions, but, uh, I see dead people. And I guess she doesn't have that, so she told me, "My abilities are from God. You need to make sure that yours aren't from the devil." I was just like, "Alright, Kathy." She's a
That's
minister.
I'm so sorry that you have to
Yeah.
go through that. But then I already think of that. I think of that. It's one way that I'm dishonest about things. In a way, like, because I know people are going to react that way. So, I just hide it from most, I guess.
Yeah, same.
Mhm.
Like, I have an online persona, but, like, I can't tell my friends or my family.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. It's,
But I guess
and go ahead.
it's hard fully loving and accepting and embracing yourself when you're forced to hide a part of yourself.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you hide it, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like it withers. The part of you withers and is dying. And on the other hand, there are times that lately I've thought to myself, well, the fact that, you know, most people don't experience this, or don't believe in it, or don't, or aren't interested, or for whatever reason, or are just unaware of it, then that means maybe there's something that I can do with it that would be of use to those people. Not, of course, the ones who are actively rejecting us, but those, because there are those who, I think it can help and does help.
Yeah.
And so if they aren't all experiencing this, then maybe there is something I have to offer.
True.
It's weird. It's confusing. But that all goes on in my mind. That's my, yeah, maybe there's people I can, no, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I've done it in real life, but I'm still learning. Like, as you said, I feel like I'm still even more beginning than you about learning how this could interact with other people in a way that could be both helpful to them and not completely draining and drowning to me.
Yeah. I think we're just learning in different ways. Like I think because a lot of people say that um what I went through was kind of like natural. Like
Uh-huh.
I didn't go to classes and stuff like that. I mean, I did a long time ago, but it was just kind of like one day spirit was like, "Okay, you can see us. That's the end of your life. No turning back now. We're going to give
Yeah.
you these very vivid experiences."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that for me, I maybe did wake my own up by like reading and practicing some of the things in the book I read,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I feel like in some ways it might make it easier for me, but in other, like in, like I think there's been times that in certain situations, I just pretended that that didn't happen because I knew that if it was Christian people, they would tell me that was satanic. So I just pretended like, in a way, I feel like it's not even a complete lie. It's just, it's just that, how do I say it? Like it helped me to turn up the volume on what was already going on in my thoughts a little bit. But I just felt like and it actually kind of worked that, like when I presented it as me being more like you, I guess, that this just happened to me or happens to me, I felt like it would help that person. And it did actually help that person to just see it as, oh, this is part of life and not her
Something.
intentionally being
Yeah.
satanic.
Yeah, when it first happened to me, I got scared because, like, I was like, "Oh, no, am I a bad person?" And then I was like, "Well, I didn't do this."
Yeah,
I mean, I may have been curious about, like, psychics and stuff, but I think that I was supposed to get curious so I would open.
I agree.
Um, but it was weird because it's like before I knew that I was a medium, I was having experiences that eventually they added up to be like, "Oh, spirit was trying to nudge me." Like, they were talking to me before I knew they were talking to me,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
they were trying to nudge me towards a big project too. What, PP? Took 14 years for me to understand what it yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like I think when I read the book that I read, it helped me
Stop
in my
it.
normal, quote, normal life so much that like how to manage all these energies and things that were coming at me. And the lady who wrote that book, I've heard different perspectives. The lady who wrote that book, she is of the firm belief that everybody is psychic and everybody can learn this and everybody should learn this, because by not knowing how to manage energies, and I got to go back and read that book. She's so helpful. I actually started rereading it just today, but that by not knowing how to manage the energies, that we actually do more harm than good. Like by keeping ourselves willfully in ignorance, we we don't understand how the energies, like we're being affected by others people's energies, they're being affected by ours, and how I'm not sure how to go deep to go into that aspect, but she's of the firm belief that like everybody should learn this.
Yeah.
And then I've heard another perspective, and I think there's some truth to maybe both. The other perspective of the other lady was not everybody's meant to see this. Not everybody's like, some people can't handle it, don't want to, whatever. And I think that both of those are comforting to me in this weird way, and I'll say why. Like I feel like I've heard it said before that like where two opposites meet, that's usually where the truth is. And so I feel like that it's true, everybody has the potential to be able to develop it, but kind of like it's anybody could develop, go to school and learn carpentry skills. Anybody could go to school and learn language skills. It's true, but not everybody's meant to be a carpenter. Not everybody's meant to be, an interpreter.
Stop it. Sorry.
It's okay.
She gets really bossy. She's 14 years old. She's set in her ways, and yeah.
Yeah, it
But
happens.
yeah, nobody's right. I agree with that. Like, I believe everybody has the ability, but not everybody is meant for it.
Yeah. And I guess like from some of the things I learned from her book back when because I only read like I think a couple chapters and I stopped. But she said just a few things that like about visualizing like kind of a boundary around yourself and a few other things that were like really powerful, like really made me better at my job, made me better able to navigate conflicts like in ways that I didn't think were possible. Like, and it sounds weird, but like before I might have just had a meltdown, a nervous breakdown or something from some of the things that I experienced at work. And the things that she taught me flipped it on its head and just made me be able to um, somehow have like keep it together and be like intelligent through it and come out on top. And then when she talked about that's just one of the things, like the tools I got from that book, but it made me, it did tend to make me believe what she said about, learning to manage it is more helpful than being in complete ignorance that it is even there.
Oh yeah. I think I'm stubborn. Like, I've learned they're called grounding exercises and stuff like that, and protection exercises, but it's like I get so stubborn, like I don't want to visualize.
Well,
And
and that I think personally, I think that again, that's different for everybody, you know, and maybe like to give you an example, like I told you I do mantras, planetary mantras, which I never would have done if Kapil Raj hadn't said it helped him to learn about astrology. But because I'm very vocal, you know, and some people
oh, I'm
can,
just lazy is what my problem
you
is.
think, I don't know. I mean, I'm lazy too, I guess, but but I remember, in fact, years ago, that before I even knew about any of this, I remember being in my backyard thinking to myself, like, because I believed in prayer. I still believe in prayer. I don't know that it is what people think it is necessarily, but I believe that it works. And I remember being in my backyard thinking to myself, couldn't I just imagine a prayer? Like imagine the picture in my mind of what I want and have that be the same thing. And um, and I feel like that maybe shows that there's a part of my mind that tends toward that, and
Okay,
maybe another person might be something totally different.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Visualizing and vocalizing, because I feel like that it's hard for me to be in silence and just focus on my breath. And I used to beat myself up. Listening to drums helped me. I don't know if that would help you. I had a therapist once who told me, have you ever just like, listen to drums and just, what did he say? Think about how your body feels. That's what he said. Put your attention on how your body feels. And I did that for quite a while, and it was very powerful, very powerful. I think that was the closest I got to like traditional meditating.
Well, maybe I shouldn't like expect this long visualization with me and just do like a really little one
Yeah,
and do I'm more of a feeler, so maybe I can feel these things.
absolutely.
I don't know.
Um, I think that that you, to me, I feel like feeling things is like one of the most powerful things.
I do like a meditation where it's like I say, everybody's energy that's not my own, go back to who it, return to sender and
Mhm.
call in my own energy.
That's kind of what one of the almost the same thing as what I learned in that book with a little bit of additions to it. That was really powerful in my life.
Yeah, I need to do that. Especially after readings. Because when I get on here and read, I burn myself out, and I need to
I
quit
bet.
doing that.
I mean, I get you. Like, actually, that's what I say. I admire you to keep going because, like, for me, I feel like, okay, I'm burned out. Okay, I'm done. But I'll do. Maybe I'll go back someday if I have some rich person who's paying all my bills because I just can't handle both. And and about like feeling lazy, I was just thinking that for me, I think it is lazy for me to visualize in a way, the way I do it, because I just like quick imagine like sucking my thoughts back into my head through a cloud and like a wall around me that pushes other people's energy out. And I feel like I can do that in a split second. Um, so I feel like that's why I feel like I hesitate to say you're lazy if you don't want to visualize, because I think it might just be individual preferences to a point.
Yeah.
And I probably better get going pretty soon because it's getting close to the time for me to help my daughter with her work, her homework.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to get off here too. I'm gonna stay on a little longer, but I don't
Well,
think anybody's gonna get on.
it's been a huge pleasure. I'm so have so much respect for you for doing it, and I really appreciate you sending me the invitation.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you coming on.
And I'll hopefully talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye bye.
See ya. Bye.